This is a huge night, and you've heard the word historic over and over again, but it really is. And I'm just curious, Michelle, for you personally, what does it mean?
Well, I've done speeches, 2 or 3 today, and I've talked about this historic day, the 45th anniversary of Dr. King speaking at the Lincoln Memorial with his "I Have a Dream" speech. I mean, how amazing that these things are happening on the same night. It is moving. It's powerful. It's emotional. And I still pinch myself and think, am I really a part of this? And I think all of our friends and family are still, we're still a bit amazed that it is us that is at the center of this. And I'm very proud of Barack. I'm proud of the man that he is. I'm proud of the race that he's run. But I'm proud of the fact that he is always thinking about how to include regular folks in this process. What this represents, this stadium of 70,000 people, is access to a process that many people usually don't get to see or understand. And that is just as powerful as anything that is specifically happening today.
I ran into Reverend Jesse Jackson last night. He was saying people forget what a violent time that was when Martin Luther King gave that speech on the Mall. It was 2 months before that the Birmingham church was bombed. And so many things that were happening that were so difficult and excruciating and violent and hateful.
Right.
So do you think people realize how far this country has come?
Yeah, I think fortunately, there are people who have lived through that and will live through this. I've seen them all throughout the campaign, this whole 19 months. I can't tell you how many people that would come to me in tears with just the thought that they would live to see this day. And these are people of all races, usually older people who really were there and felt the presence. It's interesting, even my generation, I was a child then. I didn't know that violence. I've read about it, but I wasn't aware. And I think about my kids and your kids, they weren't there. We have moved so far to the point where that part of our history isn't being transferred, in the hearts and minds of kids. They know that history and they need to know that history, but they don't live that.
It seems so distant.
Right, they don't hold those beliefs. They don't react to one another in the same way. And to me, that shows great progress. I think this is an important symbol of change and hope. But I think America has been moving in this direction day by day ever since that speech. And sometimes we don't give ourselves credit as a nation for the hard work we've done and how successful we've been. Now we have more work to do.
I was going to say, do you worry about the people who haven't moved forward, who don't judge people by the content of their character, but by the color of their skin?
Change is hard for anyone. And sometimes people hold on to what they know, and they don't know whether it's right or wrong. They just know what they know. But I tend to focus on where we're going. It's that glass half full proposition. We are here today. Barack Obama is the Democratic nominee, and it happened because not just from the people who were willing to hope and were already there, but people had to come to that place. They had to sort of listen to the message and understand that the challenges that we're facing now as a nation are really transcending race and gender and sexual orientation, and they're starting to believe that we can work together around a set of shared values. That's the truth of what's been going on this last 19 months as well, and I just want to make sure that people don't forget that about this country.
Let's talk about this setting if we could, because it's been analyzed,
Is it really?
Scrutinized, discussed, and people wonder if this enormous stadium is feeding into the notion that has been put forth by the McCain campaign that Senator Obama is a rock star, a celebrity, a mile high, inch deep. That's their motto for this week, the Republicans. Does this stage with the Doric columns feed in? Aren't you impressed that I knew they were Doric?
I was like, really? They are?
Are you worried that it may feed into that whole narrative?
I think if you were to sit and talk to the 70,000 people who are going to be here, that's not why they're here. They're here because they are inspired by the possibility of what we can be as a nation. I don't think they buy into that notion. Barack has said this from the moment he announced, and I was there. This race isn't about him, and he has run a race structured in a way so that it isn't about him. We wouldn't be here if it weren't for the millions of people who have never been involved in politics, never had a conversation, weren't registered to vote, didn't know a superdelegate from Superman. But people are engaged, they're bringing their kids, they want their kids to be a part of democracy in a way that they haven't been before. And this arena is representative of that, more so than anything. This is what bottom-up democracy looks like. This is what happens when you open up the doors of a process to every man. You got to have a place for him to sit, first of all. So it tends to be a big place. But I think that people are excited by their own accomplishments just as much as they are with anything they've seen with Barack. I think that's true for Hillary Clinton supporters who felt a level of passion and dedication and focus. They've changed the face of democracy for us as well. So I don't think this has anything to do with celebrity at all. And I think that the American people would agree.
What did you think, since you mentioned Hillary Clinton, about her speech and about her husband's speech the next night?
They were both amazing. They were gracious and generous statesmen and women. And Hillary Clinton, for one, has been nothing but gracious to me throughout this entire process, being available to answer questions, giving me advice about the girls, Chelsea offering to talk to the girls. That's why it's just important to know that the Clintons understand what's at stake, and they're not going to let, sort of what's said at the top affect the possibility of moving this country in a different direction. And I think they both showed their level of commitment to the process of change in their speeches over the last couple of days.
What do you think about the notion of some of Hillary Clinton's supporters going over to John McCain? I know you probably don't listen to polls, but polls have shown, and this was before the convention, that the number of potential McCain defectors had actually increased over the last couple months among her supporters rather than decreased. I'm just curious for your take on that.
You're right. I don't look at polls because if I did, the poll said we wouldn't be here, right? Every poll said wouldn't win Iowa, this wasn't going to happen. So I think this election just represents something that we haven't seen before. But I also understand when people have put their heart and soul into a candidate. I've done it for my husband. It would take me a little while to get over it too. And my view is that we have to give people time to heal. And to think about where they want the country to go. And I think that that's what Senator Clinton and President Clinton were saying. Think about what's at stake. Think about why you did this in the first place. Did you do it for Hillary, or did you do it for education for our kids and making sure we have universal health care? How do you now feel about the war in Iraq? I think as people get to understand the differences between the candidates, and if they were in this for the issues, then I think we'll see the outcome in the election in November. I'm confident of that, but I'm not trying to hurry people to, get to a place where I've been for 19 months.
Let me ask you about your speech. You didn't talk a lot about your career, and I'm curious if you felt that people wanted to hear more about your traditional role, because you and I have talked about sort of balancing work and family. And do you think Americans are less receptive to a career woman even today than they might be to someone who takes a more more traditional route?
Yeah. I didn't think about my speech in those terms. For me, what I was trying to do through that speech was to give people some insight into what shaped me, what shaped Barack, what shaped our values, why we came together. Because I think that those are the kind of stories that give people a sense of connection. When we talk just now, we're talking about our kids and, how we're feeding them and, our hopes for the future. We don't talk about necessarily our work, not that it's not important, but in terms
If you
of
gave
how
me
we
a few more
connect,
minutes, I probably
you'd
would.
get there,
Yeah.
right? But the first thing you talked about were your girls. That was and I think I'm the same way. Now, I think the country is very receptive to, a wide definition of roles of women, and Hillary Clinton helped to pave that way. Somebody asked me, is there sort of a standard notion of what a first lady should be? And I said, history doesn't even support that claim. Because if you look at Eleanor Roosevelt, you look at Jacqueline Kennedy, if you look at Barbara Bush, if you look at Laura Bush, they all.
If you look at Abigail Adams.
Well, I didn't want to go back too far, but they have all been in some way uniquely non-traditional. So I don't think we've ever had one clear notion of what a first lady should be, even though we tend to think that we do. So I think that, and the country has received each and every one of those women with a level of openness and possibility. We talk about how hard it was for Hillary Clinton, but she almost was the nominee. People love Hillary Clinton. They love what she stands for and who she is. That's the truth. She wouldn't have been so close to becoming the nominee if that weren't the case. So I don't feel in any way hemmed in by, a set of stereotypes or notions.
Or expectations.
Because there have been so many wonderful models. And I hope to learn from each of them if I have the honor of being the next First Lady of the United States. I know.
Where will Sasha and Malia be sitting, and where will you be sitting during your husband's acceptance speech?
We're going to be sitting right out in front of the stage, all of us, with my mom and brother and Barack's sister and his Uncle Charlie, all our immediate family. And
how are the girls doing with all of this?
They went to the aquarium today. They have been having a ball. I don't even think they know that he was officially nominated. They don't know. What's the roll call? They went to the zoo. We had a sleepover with 15 kids in my room.
Wow.
That was the first thing Malia asked me when I finished my speech. She said, "Mom, I have something important to say. We need to have a sleepover tonight." I was like, "Tonight? Can we just
Where'd you
get
find
through
15
this?"
kids?
Oh, we have all our friends and family. The Bidens have brought a bunch of kids. Our kids have been playing together, and we've brought friends and family and cousins. So there are a ton of kids here.
So it's big fun for the girls.
They're having a ball, but they always have a ball. Wherever we are, they find a way to make fun and sort of ditch the speeches. So we told them they had to be here tonight. And
no sleepovers.
No sleepover, no movie. They're going to have to sit and listen to this speech. And
something tells me they'll be happy to be here. Michelle Obama. Michelle, thanks so much for spending
Katie.
time with us.
It's good to see you
Really
again.
appreciate it. Thank you.